Welcome back to returning listeners and welcome to new listeners. This is 1 year on. I'm Alison, and following on from episode 7, today's episode is about the strange experience of going at warp speed. I first remember the terror of warp speed when my husband was driving me to the farmer's market. The road we go on to the farmer's market has a speed limit of 100 kilometres per hour, which is around 60 miles an hour. And on the weekend, it's still a fairly busy road. We were driving along and all of a sudden I felt like he had hit warp speed. I felt like everything was flying past us and it gave me a lot of terror. Think Star Trek or Star Wars, with the white lights of the stars which form into white lines when they go extremely fast and change from normal flying to warp speed. I was holding onto the seat and screaming to him to slow down. He was going 98 kilometres an hour. He reassured me he was doing the speed limit, but my brain wasn't telling me that. My brain was telling me we were going too fast. This became a major issue with me saying we're going too fast and him saying no, we're not. Nothing was changing my opinion of this. It was an awful feeling, the feeling of powerlessness, to be in a space with someone else driving and me not being able to do anything. It only resolved after about 6 weeks, and indeed only resolved once I'd started using the brain training apps, which I'll talk about in another episode. I actually worked out what was going on. It was my brain being unable to process quickly enough. It's like how your groceries are going along a conveyor belt at the supermarket checkout and the cashier is able to process the items through the till at a certain speed of time. Beep, beep, beep. The cashier usually goes fairly quickly, but they don't go madcap. They take their time. The conveyor belt goes at a set speed. And the issue I was having was that more and more items were being placed on the conveyor belt to the point of overwhelm. And the cashier, my brain, wasn't able to go fast enough to process all the items quickly enough. So going 60 kilometres an hour was fine. Even 80 kilometres an hour was fine, I think. My brain could keep up with the information and the data, the visual and auditory stimulus going in. It was when I was at 100 kilometres an hour that this was an issue. It was increased information passing my eyes in a few seconds than at the lower speed limit roads. My brain was literally being overwhelmed by data and information, and that was why I had the perception of warp speed. I eventually, stupid really, worked out how to keep calm by keeping my eyes shut when I was in the car, which is not an easy thing for a nervous passenger such as me to do, but this was what I had to do. It was a terrifying time for me. Being in the car in general was difficult enough. There were noises that the road made underneath the tyres, which changed with different road surfaces. Some were better than others. The local government replaced the surface of one road which we were on regularly, which was quieter under the tyre, changed it to one which made a lot of noise and it echoed through the car. This took a long time to resolve, to a point where my brain could cope with the noise. The indicator ticking drove me mad. And it's only actually in the last couple of months that I've been able to cope with that. In fact, my husband's car indicator was a more acceptable sound than the indicator in my car or the car that my daughter was learning to drive in. I would switch my indicators off at the first point it was possible to switch them off, and I wouldn't have my indicator on at the traffic lights. It literally hurt my brain to have it switched on. The fan similarly was too much. I had to turn the fan right down as it was overwhelming my brain with sound. The radio was the same. It really only has been in the last few months, so around 9 months after the stroke, that this became tolerable. I still don't like the radio on in the car, although I can listen to people speaking and have conversations in the car or listen to podcasts. Isn't the brain so weird? Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe. I will be back next time to talk about going back to Mr. Darcy and how he helped me with typing therapy. I use a computer for work and I knew I needed to be able to type properly to get back to work.